Everybody, Swiggy here again, and today we have a very interesting weather going on in the deep south with our tropical low 93L. This disturbance over here is very weak, even though windy is listing as a tropical depression. It technically isn't because it isn't organized. If you take a look at satellite imagery from the last 12 hours, we can see why. Thunder will be right over here, and then it'll move right over here. Here's the center. And so, anyway, even though this disturbance isn't forecast to turn into a tropical cyclone, the flood threat is still fairly high. If we look at the Weather Prediction Center, here is the forecast for today. Flash flooding threats further north. I'll get to that shortly. But mainly, we got to talk about this disturbance. And so, today, tomorrow, it moves inland, dissipates, and on day 3, big threat of flash flooding further north. And for today, there's a moderate risk of flash flooding with a slight risk going into Texas and the Florida Panhandle. And the highly disorganized tropical disturbance is going to cause lots of problems. It's going to make flooding mainly into Louisiana. And look what it says. This disturbance is responsible for a larger area of thunderstorms well west of the center, moving across southern Louisiana. The storms will turn southward and move out of the Gulf through the morning. And even though the strongest activity is expected to focus west of the center of circulation, but it will push westward as it does so. And with high precipitable water values of over 2 inches, this will cause a rainfall for the south and for the southwest. Lots of moisture, a mesoscale convective vortex is present. I'll show you soon. I'll show you that soon with windy. And there'll be excessive rainfall rates. Okay, now for mesoscale convective vortex, it's right over here. This is what's left of it, and we have some stronger storms popping up over here. 12-hour satellite imagery. Here it is over here. Big line of storms. And our disturbance over here. In front view, it shows how high the cloud tops are. Hold on, Wendy's kind of glitching over here. Okay, Wendy's glitching, but anyway. Here's our mesoscale convective vortex. And this is dumping lots of heavy rainfall, and these storms right here are causing trouble. I feel like the storm prediction center, we can see the storms will be right over here, but the highest stratosphere weather is actually way up north. For the northeast, cloud breaks and surface observations show warming temperatures, which implies a destabilizing air mass, which means stronger lift for storms. With effective shear because of a mid-level froth, the storms will have room to strengthen, but fortunately not too much. The shear activity will diminish by the early to mid-evening. Northern to high plains, supercell thunderstorm potential because of mid-level shortwave, and on shales is the main hazard. Mid-Atlantic to the southern high plains, a service front draped over the south central plains will make scattered thunderstorm activity, and the remnant mesoscale convective vortex, or MCV, which I showed you earlier, will aid in developing storms and perhaps localized threats for sporadic hail/wind, mainly this afternoon. Weather Prediction Center. On. So there's the solid front over here, and our cirrus scare over here, and then the cirrus scare over here, and our mid-level trough is right over here with the lows. Here's Invest 93L. If we look at the winds aloft, there's our Invest. We have a low pressure right over here, and that's gonna fuel these storms. Our frontal line is right over here. Winds aloft. You can see that way up high at 250 millibar level, or at around 50,000 feet. We have a dip in the jet stream over here. That's our mid-level trough. And the big storms which I showed you are right over here. If you look at the low levels, most of the level of lift is centered over here and farther north. And the severe storm corridor is also over here. We have fairly strong low level winds that'll shoot storms. If we look at the Cape Index or Instability Index, you can see that we have very high values all around the southern United States. In Tennessee, we have over 5,000 joules per kilogram. That's really high. And even way up north in Connecticut, we're having values of over 2,000 joules, strong enough to fuel serious storms. And here it is. We see our Cape Index being pulled further and further. We can see more Cape being pulled further and further northward. They'll give the supercells up there room to strengthen. And then here's the maximum quarter for the day. And by tomorrow, we can see our trough moving out with the front sweeping away the instability. But the tropics aren't just active in the United States, they're active in the Western Pacific. And I thought it was interesting to show you this because we have a very large storm system over here. It's a monsoonal depression. The windy system is a tropical storm. Low center is right over here. And visible blue. And anyway, it's supposed to turn into a severe tropical storm by the 21st as it goes over Hainan. And it will probably strengthen to a typhoon by then. Visible imagery and infrared. Gulf tropical hazards shows that there's no risk of tropical formation in the Gulf, or there's a high risk in the Western Pacific. And early in August, it shows the area forming an area in the Eastern Pacific and a still large area in the Western Pacific. National Hurricane Center shows a disturbance with having a 10% chance of occurring today and 10% in a week. It's very close inland. It's like it's like barely offshore. And so land interaction will not let it form. Here it is. And so thank you for watching. And always remember that God is looking out for you. And he's not only in control of the weather, he's in control of the world, and he wants the best for you. So I hope this encourages you during the stormy times of summer. Thank you for watching.